Could this tragedy have been avoided? Tonight, new documents show the woman killed at Henry Ford Hospital sought protection from her ex-husband, but he never received the papers before that deadly shooting.
Chaotic, frightening, and tragic moments at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit. Police swarmed the campus this morning after a hospital employee was shot and killed.
Right now, a manhunt for the victim's ex-husband murdered at work. A manhunt is underway in Detroit after a man walked into his ex-wife's job and opened fire, taking her life.
She saw it coming. In court documents, she pleaded for protection, writing that she was terrified that her ex-husband was stalking her, breaking into her car, and showing up at her job. Her words were chilling. "I am asking for help before this goes too far, and things are too late." Weeks later, inside the very hospital where she worked for more than 20 years, her greatest fear became reality. In broad daylight, her life was taken in a brutal act that left her family shattered and a city searching for answers.
It was horrible. It was the most horrible feeling, because when you're in a room and they tell you can't leave, and it's somebody shooting, you just don't know, and your life just starts flashing, in front of your eyes.
This was not a random act of violence. It was the tragic end to years of control, intimidation, and abuse. Latricia had warned the system, filed for protection, and begged for safety. Yet her cries went unanswered. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a disturbing history of violence that stretched back decades, revealing that this was far from the first time Mario Green had terrorized women. Latricia Brown, lovingly called Trish, was born in March 1985 in Detroit, Michigan. A true Detroiter at heart, she grew up in a family rooted in love, faith, and togetherness. From an early age, her bright smile and playful spirit made her the center of attention at every gathering. She was remembered as her grandmother's favorite, and affectionately called the favorite little cousin, a reflection of the deep bond she shared with those closest to her. Latricia's presence was a source of joy, and her family cherished the way she brought warmth wherever she went. Even as a young girl, Latricia displayed a natural ability to care for others. She helped raise her younger brother, and often looked after her cousin's children, stepping into a caretaker's role with ease and compassion. This nurturing spirit carried into her adult life, where she remained a steady source of support for loved ones. Her cousin, Brown, who had been by her side since birth, described her as a beloved family member whose presence felt like a gift. For many, Latricia's love was not just comforting, it was life-shaping. Her fun-loving and silly personality became one of her most defining traits as she grew older. Friends and family recalled how her laughter filled the room and how she had the unique ability to lift spirits in any situation. She knew how to make people feel valued, offering advice, encouragement, and companionship when they needed it most. Her close friends and co-workers remembered her as someone whose compassion was instinctive, always making time to care for others, regardless of what struggles she faced herself. Latricia's kindness was not performative. It was an inseparable part of who she was. Professionally, Latricia dedicated more than 20 years of her life to Henry Ford Hospital, where she worked as a scheduler. Her reliability and kindness earned her the respect of her colleagues, and the hospital became a second home where she found both purpose and belonging. Her ambitions extended even further when she was accepted into a radiology program at Oakland Community College, a step that reflected her drive to deepen her skills in the medical field. Though she never had children of her own, Latricia held on to the dream of one day becoming a mother. Until then, she poured her love into her nieces, nephews, cousins, and the children of friends, who saw her as a figure of comfort and care. Yet, beneath her radiant personality and professional success, Latricia endured years of personal struggle. She had been in a relationship with Mario Green for 15 years, 6 of those in marriage, before their divorce in 2018. Even after the marriage ended, Mario continued to exert control over her, refusing to let her move forward freely. Friends described how the relationship drained her spirit, leaving emotional scars that ran deep. Her friends recalled the abuse as the most heinous, remembering the times she saw bruises on Latricia's face and heard the despair in her voice. Latricia would sometimes miss work to hide the marks of violence, carrying the weight of both physical and emotional pain in silence. Out of fear, she concealed much of her suffering from her family, not wanting to put them at risk. Although she fought to reclaim her life, the lasting effects of years of abuse left wounds that never fully healed. On the morning of August 22, 2025, Tragedy struck inside Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit. Just before 10 a.m., Mario Green entered the hospital's basement, where Latricia was carrying out her work duties. What began as a verbal altercation quickly escalated into violence. Without warning, Mario pulled out a firearm and shot Latricia multiple times before fleeing the scene. The sound of gunfire sent panic through the hospital, and employees rushed to the basement only to discover a horrifying sight. Latricia Brown, known to many as Trish, lay fatally wounded in the very place she had dedicated over 2 decades of her life. Authorities immediately launched an investigation into how Mario managed to gain access to restricted parts of the hospital. Detroit Police Chief Todd Bettison confirmed that Henry Ford Hospital was briefly placed on lockdown following the shooting as staff and patients were left shaken by the violence that had unfolded in a place meant for healing. Despite the swift response of emergency personnel, Latricia could not be saved. The hospital community, where she was not only a colleague but a beloved friend, was left devastated by the brutal act carried out within its walls. Surveillance cameras captured Mario leaving the hospital at approximately 9:55 a.m., moments after the shooting. He was seen driving away in a 2011 white Dodge Charger. Investigators quickly released this information to the public, warning that Mario was presumed to be armed and dangerous. His escape set off a frantic manhunt across Detroit, with law enforcement working against time to prevent further harm. By 4 p.m. that same day, Detroit police located Mario's vehicle abandoned along a Michigan freeway. The discovery intensified the search, as investigators feared what he might do next. Chief Bettison urged the community to remain vigilant, stating that Mario was presumed to be armed and dangerous. "We expect to have him in custody very, very shortly, but we're asking for the community's help." Those words underscored the urgency of the situation, as police pressed forward in pursuit of a man who had already committed a heinous act of violence. Less than 24 hours later, in the early morning hours of August 23rd, authorities confirmed that Mario had been captured.
Early this morning, Detroit police caught a wanted man. Mario Green was on the run for hours. He's accused of fatally shooting his ex-wife. It all unfolded at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit yesterday.
At around 3 a.m., police announced his arrest, bringing the intense manhunt to a close. His capture provided a measure of relief to a city still reeling from Latricia's slaying, though the shock of the crime lingered. For her loved ones and colleagues, the swiftness of his arrest offered little comfort in the face of an irreplaceable loss. Latricia's life, defined by love, dedication, and resilience, had been cut short in the most devastating way, leaving behind a community searching for justice. As investigators dug deeper into the case, troubling details from Mario Green's past began to emerge. Court records revealed a history of violence and intimidation that stretched back decades, painting a chilling picture of repeated abuse against women. Authorities discovered that the fatal shooting of Latricia Brown was not the first time Green had been accused of threatening behavior. His record showed a pattern of aggression that, for years, left a trail of fear in the lives of those who had encountered him. One of the earliest documented cases occurred in January 2001 in Wayne County, where Green faced charges of aggravated stalking and domestic violence. Despite a restraining order filed against him, he was accused of assaulting a woman and repeatedly threatening and harassing her. According to court documents, his behavior created an atmosphere of terror for the victim, who sought legal protection. A few months later, Green pleaded guilty to the felony stalking charge. In exchange, prosecutors dropped the domestic violence charge. He was sentenced to 5 years of probation and ordered to participate in an intervention program, though the punishment did little to curb his destructive behavior. Years later, in 2013, Green once again found himself facing serious charges in Wayne County, this time involving another woman. He was accused of domestic violence, assault with a dangerous weapon, and felony firearm. The case went before a jury, but he was ultimately acquitted on all counts. Despite the not guilty verdict, the allegations further highlighted the disturbing consistency in the accusations against him. Women continued to describe encounters filled with intimidation and violence, underscoring a cycle that seemed to follow him throughout his adult life. Among those who came forward was Katina McCleany, who dated Green more than 2 decades earlier. After their relationship ended, she said he stalked her and recounted a terrifying incident where he followed her. put a gun to her head, and told her that if he could not have her, no one could. McCleany recalled freezing in fear as she thought about her young son, describing the encounter as one that left a permanent scar. She filed a police report at the time and was granted a personal protection order against Green in 2002, though Detroit police later reported that no records of her initial report could be found. Reflecting on Latricia's case, McCleany said with grief, "I cry for Latricia because this should have never happened to her." Green's criminal history also included a conviction unrelated to domestic violence. In 2007, he pleaded guilty to felony arson as a repeat offender and received a maximum sentence of 7.5 years. However, according to the Michigan Department of Corrections, he served just over 3 years behind bars. Records show that he was paroled in January 2010 and discharged from parole in July 2012. His release marked yet another chapter in a long line of second chances that, in the eyes of many, left dangerous behavior unchecked until it claimed Latricia's life. In the months leading up to her tragic end, Latricia made multiple attempts to protect herself from Mario Green. After leaving him in March 2025, she sought help from the courts, filing twice for a personal protection order. Her first petition, submitted on June 13th, was denied after a judge determined it did not meet the burden of proof. In her filing, Latricia described Mario's alarming behavior, writing that he repeatedly called her job, threatened to confront her colleagues, and even attempted to enter her office without permission. Despite her warnings, the court offered no immediate relief. Latricia's fears grew as Mario's behavior escalated. On July 20th, she returned to court with another petition, stating that Mario had broken into her car, destroyed her belongings, and stalked her on multiple occasions. In her words, "I have tried being cordial because I feel that the system has now let me down each time that I have tried to make reports on this man." She added that she was in mental distress and scared, not knowing what to do, citing the trauma of losing her father to violence and her fear of suffering the same fate. In a chilling plea for protection, she warned, "I am asking for help before this goes too far and things are too late." This time, Wayne County Judge Carla Testani granted the order on July 21st. However, Detroit police later confirmed that the protection order was never served to Mario. Officials explained that such orders could be delivered by a process server, court officer, third party, or by certified mail. But in this case, none of those steps were completed. Assistant Chief Charles Fitzgerald acknowledged the failure, noting that Mario had not been formally notified of the order. As a result, despite the judge's ruling, Latricia was left vulnerable to continued harassment. Friends of Latricia reported that Henry Ford Hospital was aware of Mario's behavior. They recalled how Latricia had requested her office be relocated because her ex-husband knew where she worked. They explained that hospital security had issued an order prohibiting Mario from the premises and distributed his photographs to staff as a precaution. Despite these measures, the hospital basement remained a public area requiring no badge access, leaving an opening that Mario later exploited. Family and friends voiced their frustration at what they described as a lack of decisive action, believing more could have been done to keep Latricia safe. The heartbreak was deeply felt by Latricia's family. On September 1st, 2025, her cousin Deonda Easley shared a devastating tribute on Facebook, reflecting on their close bond. Easley wrote, "My first cousin, little bestie. We were so close growing up. I was 21 years old and she was 13 when the judge gave me full custody of Trish. The time we shared together was some of the best years of my life." Expressing pain over her cousin's final days, Easley added, "My heart hurts knowing she lived her last days in fear, crying out for help." She went on to detail the family's painful schedule. On Tuesday, September 2nd, they would view Latricia's body. On Wednesday, September 3rd, they would lay her to rest. And on Thursday, September 4th, they would face Mario Green in court. Her words captured the grief of a family mourning a woman who didn't deserve this and now sought strength and peace in the wake of tragedy. What are your thoughts on the tragic story of Latricia Brown? Do you think law enforcement should have been more attentive to her abusive situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you are new to the channel and would like to see more true crime episodes like this, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Stay safe, and I will see you on the next episode.